the number one talk show host, sports talk show host in America, our old friend Mike Francesa. Good morning, Mr. Francesa.
Good morning, Don. How are you?
Fine, baby. How are you?
What's with the songs? You Casey Kasem all of a sudden?
Well, no, but we wanted to play your 5 favorite songs, and they weren't bad, by the way.
That took a while for me to figure that out. I mean, I had to like go thinking about it. I mean, that wasn't easy for me. I mean, that wasn't like this, right at the tip of my finger. I had to actually spend a little time on that.
You weren't a Springsteen. Wasn't Dog's a big Springsteen fan, right?
Dog will give you 18 straight Springsteen songs. He's a groupie. I mean, no, I didn't. Listen, I have a lot. I could have given you a couple other ones. I like a lot of different things. I tell you, I still have your jukebox. You have good stuff on there. I was going to give you an Eagles song just for you because you love the Eagles.
Some of the great that jukebox. There's 100 songs on there. I forget where I compiled them, but there's I think there's 100. It could be the Rolling Stones 100 greatest rock and roll songs of all time. I think they are.
Let me tell you something. The songs you put on there are still on there, and my wife plays that all the time, and she never changes it. We've added a couple of albums, but it's almost the guy came and put a couple more in. But other than that, everyone you picked is in there. Still to this day, everyone is in there.
So I used to like it because when we were at FAN over there in Queens,
yep,
we couldn't wait for you to get to work because you'd come. We'd still be in the office there back. It was before computers, and we had to stay there all day to do production. But you'd come back, and you were really didn't give me a bad time mostly, and watch me take Vicodin, and you were hilarious. So I miss those days.
That was a favorite, Don. That's the favorite part of my day. I used to get there, come back about 12:30, and you'd be back there, basically stoned out of your mind, trying to shoot somebody. I mean, that was usually it. So and we just sit there and kill everybody for about a half hour, and then I'd go into work.
Well, funny times, man.
I loved it. It was great. As a matter of fact, that's why I'm leaving, because I finally figured out you're not coming back. I mean, I've been waiting for you for a decade to come back, and I finally figured out you're not coming back. It took me a while.
Not many people get to go out on top, and they usually they hang around too long, and eventually they say, well, we're not, whatever the deal is. You get to go out on top. How do you feel about that?
Well, I'm probably a little senile now, but I'm going out close anyway. So I really, you know what, it's time to go. I really believe that. It's been a long time. I've stayed a long time after you guys left. Hasn't been as much fun as when you guys were there, but, it is what it is. So I lasted another decade, and I just felt it was time to go a couple of years ago, and now it's completely the time to go. You got a new company taking over. I don't know what their changes will be because I really haven't had that much interaction with them. They're just kind of getting in there now. So I think it worked out perfectly. I really think it did. So I think it was the right time to go.
So you don't plan on doing another show?
I don't think I'm going to do a daily show. I mean, things are changing a little bit. I've got a couple of offers, but I don't see me doing a Monday to Friday thing like that ever again. I'm not saying I won't work. And I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do, but I don't see me doing Monday to Friday every day. And I don't see me traveling into the city anymore because I am so sick of the traffic. I have spent so many hours in traffic in the last 10 years. I am not sitting in that traffic anymore. It's 4 hours every day. Just ridiculous to sit in that traffic.
How many kids do you have now?
I have 3, thankfully, beautiful children that are now 11, and 2 are 12, going to be 13 in January, the twins, and Harrison is 11 years old, and I just got a Christmas card from you and Deidre and Wyatt, and Wyatt's ripping it up, huh?
Well, he's going to Rice University, and he's going to be a world champion. He's going to be both a world champion calf roper and team roper. He's a prodigy. And he's turned into a good kid, great kid. So
that's great, and he's big enough to play nose tackle for the Texans too, isn't he?
Yes, he's a pretty big kid. He's a pretty tough kid. So
you better watch it. You better be nice to him.
Somebody saw you on the NFL Network yesterday. Said you were great.
Thanks. You know what? Those guys. One of those kids is a good kid that I know. The other ones I just really met yesterday, but one of them does some stuff with me. His name is Peter Schrager. Nice kid. So I went over. I promised them I'd go over. That was my old. That's a building I worked in 1981, so I hadn't been back in that building in years. But I used to work there all the time in the broadcast center, on 57th between 10th and 11th. I hadn't been in that building in a long time, so it was fun to be back in there. I used to work there with the NFL Today and doing a college basketball and football years ago, so it was fun to be back there. So it's like making the rounds, just like today. It's, you know, have everybody on. Everyone's going to call in. So you and everyone else and Dog, and so it's going to be fun. And then tomorrow will be the last show.
Talking with Mike Francesa on his retirement from broadcasting. Currently the #1 sports talk guy in America in over 30 years. How'd you get started doing this?
Yeah, you know, the funny thing was I was doing CBS. I had come out of college and I did a couple different things, and then I got a job at CBS that turned into a really good job. I was just starting to get on the air at CBS doing some studio work and things like that. And I was in the car one day, and I was listening to the Met-Houston Astro playoff game in 1986. And they went to commercial, and with the bump it said sports radio. And I was like, what the heck is sports radio? I mean, this was a country western station. So I'm like, wait a second, what is sports radio? So I inquired about sports radio, and I went in for an interview. I didn't get the job. They told me they were bringing in the biggest guys in the country, Pete Franklin, Jim Lampley, that I wasn't qualified to be on the air there. So I kept trying, got my foot in the door. They basically almost destroyed the place in the first year, and then they were smart enough to get you over there, and then you helped turn it around. Without you, we wouldn't even have been. Without you, there would have been no sports radio, no Mike and the Mad Dog, no nothing.
Well, what happened, of course, was that we were on NBC at 660 on the dial, one of the most powerful AM signals in the world, 50,000 watts of clear channel, and at the time, FAN was on WHK, which was which you couldn't hear that radio station if you parked your car next to the transmitter. So Jeff Smullian and Amos, they bought NBC, and they bought so they bought us, and they bought that signal. So they suddenly FAN, which they weren't going to make it with sports radio, they were in trouble, but they suddenly bought this signal, 660, and they bought us. And we decided to. They picked up our contract, decided to have us stay, so we weren't going to do sports. But so we did the morning show we had been doing for years, and we changed a little bit, and then they signed a bunch of sports guys, and of course we got huge numbers in the morning, and as a consequence, you know, after overtime and this and that and so on, it finally all shook out, and they got you and Dog and few other folks, and the next thing you know, it's one of the most successful radio stations in America. So, well,
we came, as a matter of fact, Dog and I both came through individually your show, and I remember the first time they said to me, listen, Imus is going to be coming to the station. Why don't you go over and do sports at NBC? You can meet him. So I went over the first day. You probably don't even remember this. And you were in this little studio there, and I went over to do sports, and before I did my first sports report, you took your gum out of your mouth and threw it at me. So I basically, your cowboy hat was on the table, so I threw it across the room, and you and I almost got in a brawl the first day, and I almost got fired.
Well, it all worked out fine, didn't it?
It did. You didn't shoot me, and it worked out okay. So 30 years later, you're there, I'm here, and now it's time to go.
We had a lot of fun.
I didn't think you'd outwork me on the air. Now, how many more years are you going to do this?
Well, I don't know. I'm getting close. So.
You've been getting close for 10 years.
Well, you know, I had I'm not going into detail, but one thing led to another, and here I am. And now, of course, Charles went crazy about 6.5 years ago, and he left, and I lucked out and got Connell McShane, and now Connell is leaving. Today, coincidentally, is his last day.
Where's he going?
He's going back to Fox. He's always worked at Fox, and they allowed him to work for me as well. But he's always done the show here, and then he goes back the rest of the day, and he works at Fox. Well, now Fox suddenly realized what they've got, so they want him back full-time, so we're going to have to...
Miss him.
Yeah, we are going to miss him because he's great, so... Well,
listen, to be honest with you for a second, and seriously, and I have missed you. You know what? Those were great years. You, Dog, and myself and you were together for almost 20 years, which was unbelievable. And I tell people all the time, without sports radio, without you, there wouldn't have been a sports radio. It's really true. I mean, there's nothing about that that's anything false. It's completely true. And so I owe you a lot. And 30 years later, I still can't thank you enough. I learned more from you than I did anybody in the business. And you know what? There's not that many people that I truly could say that I love in this business. You're one of them, though.
Well, thank you, Mike. And I'll always remember how loyal you and Doug were. And you guys literally put your jobs on the line for me. And God bless you. I'll appreciate that. I'll always appreciate that. I'm happy for you. Congratulations on a wonderful career. And I'm flying to Pensacola in a few minutes, but I'll call you from there.
Yes, absolutely.
And we'll chat some more.
Thank you, Don.
All right, baby. Thank you.
Take care.
Mike Francesa here on the Imus In The Morning program.